Show this fool knight what it is to have no fear. Go to God!
"17 years ago, I stood atop this ledge and took my first leap of faith. A moment in my gaming journey that would stick with me. This was the first time a video game ever made me think deeply. It challenged my beliefs. It made me think the world around me is not an absolute reality. We as human beings aren't equipped to fully perceive our environment. Who's to even say that there is an objective reality that exists independently outside of our own conscious awareness of it? Nothing is true. In the absence of this objective reality, we have the power to pick and choose what we want out of life. Something that you value highly can be seen as petty and meaningless to someone else, but you'd both be right, because those are your subjective interpretations. Every choice is your own. Do what you wish, but be willing to live with the consequences those actions bring, whether they be good or bad. Everything is permitted. In this video, I want to talk about my experience as an Assassin's Creed fan. How over the years, the more RPG-centric games have been disappointing, and I've kinda had to learn to let go and accept the fact that Ubisoft doesn't make games for me anymore. And finally, what I think about all the controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I definitely have some strong opinions. Before it spawned 1,000 sequels, decided it wanted to throw out its own lore and start making games for an audience that largely doesn't exist, Assassin's Creed was revolutionary. This was when Ubisoft was known as the Trailblazers. Nowadays, if you mention Ubisoft and original in the same sentence, people look at you like you got kicked in the head by a donkey. I love science fiction. And the idea of the Animus and genetic memories, a machine that could tap into the deepest recesses of your memory and teleport you like a time machine into the body of your distant ancestors, the Assassins, the Templars, Desmond finding himself kidnapped by this evil conglomerate and forced to help them find this piece of Eden, this ancient advanced technology in order for them to usher in a new world order. This seriously had me going down to my local library as a teenager and trying to look up epigenetic rat studies and shit. But if the narrative doesn't hook you, the world will. This game just drips with atmosphere like you wouldn't believe. Everything from the densely packed streets to the sprawling landscapes. They were absolute eye candy back then. Even the water looked pretty good. And you know, if a game's water looks good, it means it's a good game. Just don't touch it though. That's that deadly Crash Bandicoot water. The Crusades are still my favorite in terms of Assassin's Creed settings. The second is probably the French Revolution. I still remember rolling up to Damascus and seeing that huge city in the background for the first time. I was literally awestruck. I shit you not, I panned the camera just right with Altair sitting atop his horse on the edge of those cliffs, and I drew a portrait of what I seen on the screen. This was the last video game that ever inspired me to draw fan art. Looking back, I know it's a lot of nostalgia. They clearly needing more time in the oven.
But I need money, sir. I'm poor and sick and hungry. No, please, don't leave like this. Just a few coins, please. A few coins.
But I didn't care. I played the game back to back like 8 times when I was in high school. And then Assassin's Creed 2 came along and gave us one of the best games with a number 2 at the end of the title that we've ever seen. This game right here. This is the reason that me, like a dumbass, kept on getting tricked into buying the newest Assassin's Creed game every time they would launch. It's always this little glimmer of hope that they finally cut the bullshit and go back to their roots. Ezio was an incredible character, and I'm so glad I got to watch him through each stage of his life. From a charming youth causing harmless trouble, to a strong, charismatic leader, and by the third game, a wise and humble mentor. A journey of pain, struggle, sacrifice, and love. This is the series I once knew. I can't think of many gaming franchises that have kept me coming back for this long. Aside from The Legend of Zelda and Resident Evil, I haven't cared about the Need for Speed series, not since Black Box. Castlevania is pretty much dead. There's no telling if Metroid Prime 4 will gain enough traction to reignite the series. Nintendo doesn't seem to want to give us Metroid Prime 2 and 3 on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, doesn't it make sense to at least get newer fans caught up with the series? You know, so they can become invested before Metroid Prime 4 drops? I don't know. All I do know is it just kinda sucks being a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. I know people like to laugh at us. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it kinda became a meme with us. Oh, it's a good game, just not a good Assassin's Creed game. For me though, it was a wake-up call. Well, not really. I mean, I initially skipped out on Valhalla, but I seen it was $20 one day. I mean, come on, man. Alright, they got me. They got me with the $20. I was that guy that came back a year later and bought it. Anyways, Valhalla was really just the last nail in the coffin. I'll never buy another Assassin's Creed game. I was like 30 hours into the game and it was so repetitive at this point. I was getting harassed by NPCs and they're showing me their romance options and shoving them in my face. Even though I chose a male Eivor, my character was still getting referred to as a female. And look, I don't care about the romance options in the game. They don't bother me. It's just when I'm trying to roleplay as a heterosexual male and characters come up to me in dialogue and they're like, "Hey, do you want to have gay sex with me? Yes or no?" It's just jarring and it takes me out of the experience. At this point, I just turned off the game and uninstalled it. I wasn't really hip to the whole woke thing, but it was enough red flags for me to know that, okay, Ubisoft is no longer making games for me anymore. Now, it used to be a hot button topic, but at this point, we've heard the word racism thrown around so many times that it just doesn't hold any meaning anymore. I've just been looking around, but I don't see this modern audience that they're always going on about. It's almost like they don't exist. Plenty of people are playing Space Marine 2 and Black Myth Wukong, and no, it's not because those games are anti-woke. It's because they're fun. But I don't see anybody playing Dustborn. I've been kind of seeing this repeating pattern of woke games failing, gamers being blamed for being bigots, shortly after, the developers losing their jobs, and what do you know? Studio closures. I don't see why anybody is surprised about all the controversy around Assassin's Creed Shadows. I wonder, but we're racist if we don't like Yasuke? If I don't want a black samurai in my game that I expect to have some type of semblance of historical accuracy, then now I'm a white supremacist? There's absolutely nothing wrong with playing as a black man slaughtering hundreds of Japanese. Well, if that's the case, then hey Ubisoft, before you go bankrupt, I got a pitch for a new Assassin's Creed game. It takes place in Africa where you play as a white man wearing tribal paint and killing droves of black people. You can even have country music playing in the background during combat sections. This shit is absolutely George Orwellian. I feel like the thought police are going to break down my door any minute now and drag me out of my house. You know the people that made Star Wars Outlaws? Yeah, the game that was a catastrophic failure. Those are the same people that are making Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft doesn't hire these developers because of their talent or experience. They hire people based on their skin color and sexual identity. These people are being managed by diversity consultants that push identity politics. They're in control of everything from the gameplay to how the story is written in your games. These companies don't make video games. Money doesn't make video games. People make video games. And guess what? Awful people make awful video games. And awful video games aren't selling very well in 2024. People are fed up. They're sick and tired and they're not buying this shit. Even though I'm sad it's kinda over for the Assassin's Creed series, in reality it's kind of been dead for way longer. I believe that Unity was the last real Assassin's Creed game that we got, this in my opinion. I just know at the end of the day that the only thing I'm really missing out on is bad video games. I really appreciate you listening to me for this long now. I know this whole video probably feels like me just rambling, but it's a topic that I've had on my mind for a while now. I didn't want to just make the same rage grifting content that everybody else seems to be making. I wanted to approach this as an Assassin's Creed fan and just let you know that you're not alone. You know, for some of us, this series has impacted our lives. Like I said, as far back as the original Assassin's Creed, it challenged my beliefs. Made me think deeply about my place in this world. It inspired me. It made me interested in history. It made me appreciate good storytelling. And after a long day at work, whenever I just kinda hated life and felt like I was not really going anywhere, I used these games as a form of escapism, like shelter from all the bullshit in the world. And if you want to escape from all the bullshit in the world, consider sticking around and hanging out with me. I have a couple videos on screen right now that I think you might find interesting. Again, thank you for watching and bye.